Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is January 22nd, 2026. If you've been looking at your feeds this week, trying to, keep up with the tech world, you probably feel like the landscape isn't just shifting, it's sprinting. The sheer volume of updates hitting IT professionals right now is staggering.
It really is. I mean, you almost need an AI just to read the news about AI at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why today we're sort of scripting it all down. We're dissecting Andrew Kagan's weekly newsletter, technical news you can possibly use.
Yeah.
And honestly, looking at the stack of updates he's curated for tomorrow's edition, I mean, it covers everything from Azure and DevOps to some pretty terrifying security studies. I think the word possibly is doing a lot of heavy lifting. This feels like news you definitely need to use.
I would agree. Kagan breaks it down into 8 focus areas: Azure, M365, Power Platform, DevOps, data, security, learning, and industry trends. We're going to touch on all of them, but as I was analyzing the source material, 3 massive anchors really stood out to me.
Right. First, the terminology.
Yeah.
It's officially changed. We aren't really chatting with boss anymore. We're in the era of agents.
Yep.
Second, we've got a study about GPT 5.2 and zero-day exploits, that is. Well, sobering is a polite word for it.
Terrifying is probably more accurate. Yeah.
And third, there's this very loud, counterintuitive argument gaining traction that microservices, the darling of modern architecture for the last decade, might actually be killing your performance.
Yeah.
And they claim to have the math to prove it.
That one is going to ruffle some feathers, for sure. Especially for anyone who spent the last 5 years refactoring their monoliths.
Exactly. So let's unpack this. We should probably start with the age of the agent. I went through the Azure and Power Platform updates in the newsletter. And, I mean, the word chat is basically disappearing. It's all agents.
Yeah.
Is this just marketing rebranding? Or is the technology actually different?
No, it is substantively different. If you look at the Azure updates, specifically the SRE agent, that stands for Site Reliability Engineering, you can really see the shift. A chatbot, it answers a question. An SRE agent performs a job.
So a chatbot is like a librarian, but an agent is a mechanic.
That is a great analogy, yeah. The SRE agent isn't just sitting there waiting for you to ask, hey, why is the server slow? It's proactively monitoring latency, it's checking logs, and in some configurations, it's executing optimization scripts before you even open your laptop. It has agency.
That's a huge leap in trust, though. I mean, it's one thing to ask an AI for a code snippet. It's another thing entirely to let it touch your production environment.
It is, but that's where the industry is heading. We see it in the Power Platform updates as well. They're introducing connected agents in Microsoft Copilot Studio. And this is significant. The Copilot Studio extension for Visual Studio Code is now generally available.
I circled that one. Moving Copilot Studio into VS Code feels like a major signal. It's saying this isn't just a low-code toy for business analysts anymore, right?
Exactly. It legitimizes agent building as a core part of the software development lifecycle. You're building these agents in the same environment where you write your C# or your Python. It bridges the gap between the, citizen developer and the pro developer.
And speaking of bridging that gap, did you catch the code interpreter update? Power Platform code interpreter in prompts?
Yes, this is so crucial for accuracy. Usually a large language model just predicts the next word. It's effectively guessing based on patterns. With code interpreter, the agent can pause, write a little snippet of Python to do a complex calculation or data transformation, execute it, and then use the actual result in its response.
So it grounds the AI in reality.
Yeah.
It's not just hallucinating math anymore, it's actually calculating it.
Precisely. We're moving from AI as a passive, sort of creative assistant to AI as an active computational participant in our infrastructure.
Which segues perfectly into the infrastructure itself. You have to talk about this microservices article in the DevOps section. The headline is blunt. Microservices are killing your performance. And here's the math.
This is the pendulum swinging back. For 10 years, the narrative was break everything down. Monoliths are bad, microservices are good, decouple everything.
I feel like if you admitted to running a monolith in 2020, you were looked at like a dinosaur.
You were. But this article highlights what it calls the complexity tax. Here's the insight. In a microservices architecture, you have hundreds of services talking over a network. Every time service A asks service B for data, you have serialization, a network hop, latency, and deserialization.
Okay, but isn't that just the cost of doing business with that model?
The argument here is that the cost is just too high. The math shows it adds up aggressively. A function call inside the same memory space, like you'd have in a monolith, takes nanoseconds. A network call takes milliseconds. That's orders of magnitude slower.
So Are we saying we should go back to monoliths? Are we just undoing the last 10 years of architecture?
Yeah. It's not undoing exactly. It's more about consolidating. The industry is looking at macro services or modular monoliths. It's a reminder that architecture isn't about following trends. It's about physics. If you prioritize raw performance over decoupling, well, you might need to merge those 20 tiny services back into one.
That is a hard pill to swallow for teams that just finished breaking them apart. But speaking of coding efficiency, there's an update here for GitHub Copilot called Agentic Memory System.
And this connects right back to our agents discussion. One of the biggest frustrations with AI coding assistants right now is amnesia. You know, you fix a bug, you start a new chat, and it forgets the entire context of the project.
It's like working with a temp worker who shows up fresh every morning and needs to be completely retrained.
Exactly. Agentic memory changes that. It allows the AI to retain context across sessions. It remembers your architectural decisions like, oh, right, we decided not to use that library because it crashes production.
That moves it from just a tool to a teammate.
And it's getting standardized. Anthropic just released a guide to building high-quality AI agents. We're seeing the industry agree on engineering standards for these things. It's becoming a discipline, not just, magic.
Okay, let's pivot to data, because all these agents need to read something and they need to read it fast. I saw a term in the data and analytics section that looked like a weapon system, DISCAN.
Disk-based approximate nearest neighbor.
Okay, you're going to have to translate that for us.
Okay, so think about vector search. That's how AI finds things by meaning, not just keywords. Usually, to make that fast, you have to store the index in the computer's RAM. RAM is incredibly fast, but it's also incredibly expensive and limited in size.
So you have a massive data set like millions of documents.
Yeah.
You need a supercomputer just to hold it all in memory.
Historically, yes, or a very, very expensive cluster. DISCAN is this breakthrough algorithm that lets you store that massive index on SSDs, solid-state drives, but still search it almost as fast as if it were in RAM.
Whoa, so is the speed of RAM at the price of disk storage?
That's it. That is the news you can use right there. It democratizes massive vector search. You don't need $1 million budget to run high-end AI search anymore. You can do it on standard hardware using Azure SQL or Fabric.
I like that. That's practical. It bridges the gap between the shiny new AI world and the, budget reality most of us live in.
And Andrew's newsletter also included a link to how to choose a database for your project in 2026, along with a little reminder about relational database constraints.
That seems almost retro.
It is, but it's so vital. Amidst all this AI hype, the newsletter reminds us that basic data integrity, just making sure your data is actually valid, is timeless. You can have the smartest agent in the world, but if the database underneath it is garbage, you're just going to get garbage at the speed of light.
Okay, take a deep breath, because we are entering the danger zone. Security. There was a headline here that genuinely made me cold. Study shows GPT 5.2 can reliably develop zero-day exploits at scale.
This is a massive, massive red flag. We are not talking about writing phishing emails or scripting basic malware anymore. A 0-day is a vulnerability the software vendor doesn't even know about yet.
And finding one of those usually requires a human researcher months of digging, right?
Yes. It requires intuition and really deep analysis. This study suggests that next-gen models can look at code, find the hole, and write the exploit to penetrate it.
And the at-scale part is what terrified me. A human hacker has to sleep. An automated system running thousands of instances just doesn't.
It creates an asymmetric threat. The cost of attack is dropping to near zero.
So how do we even defend against a machine that finds holes faster than we can patch them?
Well, you fight AI with AI. The newsletter points to tools like Microsoft Sentinel Graph and Microsoft Defender CSPM, that's Cloud Security Posture Management.
I saw Graph. Is that just a fancy word for a dashboard?
No, Graph in this context is all about relationships. Traditional security tools, they show you a list of alerts. Alert A happened, Alert B happened. A graph engine sees that the user who triggered Alert A also just downloaded a sensitive file in Alert B. It connects the dots to show you the story of the attack.
Because if the attack is automated and fast, the defense has to be automated and contextual. We can't rely on a human analyst just scrolling through a CSV file.
Exactly. Humans can't parse the logs fast enough anymore. We also need to look at the identity vector. There was a specific mention of OAuth apps.
OAuth. That's the thing where I click login with Google or log in with Microsoft so I don't have to remember another password.
Correct. And attackers love that you don't think about it. The newsletter features a video on inside OAuth apps. If I can trick you into granting my malicious app permissions, I don't need your password. I have a valid key to your data. It bypasses the front door entirely.
It's like giving the valet your keys. You think they're parking the car, but if you didn't check their badge, they might be driving it to Mexico.
And you gave them permission to do it. It's a huge reminder that identity is the new perimeter.
All right, let's move to the work and learning sections M365 and certifications.
Yeah,
Because for the IT pros listening, this is all about keeping your job relevant.
absolutely.
First off, M365, Copilot agents in OneDrive. Again, with the agents.
It's significant because OneDrive is your file storage. Having an agent there means it isn't just in a chat window, it's interacting directly with your documents. It can reason over your entire file structure.
And for the admins, there's this great video on 5 hidden Microsoft 365 admin features that will turn you into an IT superhero. I admit, I love the superhero framing. Who doesn't want to be the hero who fixes the issue with one click?
It's good branding, but it also speaks to the complexity of the admin center. There are powerful tools hidden in those menus that most people, they never find.
Now, on the learning side, I noticed a very specific shift in certifications. We're seeing Copilot Studio certifications, AB610 versus AB620.
The fact that these exist, so we have distinct exams for this, shows how specialized agent building has become. It's a career path now. You can be a certified agent architect.
And there was a crash course mentioned, RARGI and MCP fundamentals. We need to define these, because the newsletter treats them like the ABCs of 2026.
They essentially are. RGE stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation.
That's the architecture where the AI looks up your private company data before it answers a question, right? So it's not just making stuff up.
Exactly. It retrieves the relevant info, then it generates the answer, and MCP is the Model Context Protocol.
Okay, and what does that do?
Think of it as the USB port for AI. It's an open standard that lets AI models connect to external data and tools easily. If RGE is the brain accessing memory, MCP is the hands using the tools. If you want to work in tech in 2026, you really need to understand RGE and MCP.
Consider those unpacked.
Yeah.
Finally, let's zoom out to the big picture. The newsletter covers the World Economic Forum 2026, Davos.
Yeah, the heavy hitters were all there. Satya Nadella, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, Demis Hassabis from DeepMind.
And Yuval Noah Harari. He usually brings the philosophical rain to the tech parade.
He does. He provided the honest conversation on AI and humanity. But what's fascinating here is just the sheer scale of the claims being made. Demis Hassabis is calling this an AI shift bigger than the industrial age.
Bigger than steam engines and factories. That's a bold claim.
Jensen Huang is echoing it, talking about how AI transforms the entire global economy. But there was also a debate between Hassabis and Dario Amodei from Anthropic about the world after AGI, artificial general intelligence.
So it seems like they're taking AGI as a win, not an if.
They are. They are planning for it. But there's a great contrast here. While the billionaires are debating philosophy at Davos, the newsletter points out a market reality. Claude Code costs up to $200 a month. Goose does the same for free.
Goose.
It's an open source alternative. It's a reminder that while the giants debate control, the open source community is building tools that rival the expensive enterprise ones. The power is democratizing just as fast as it's concentrating.
And one final mind bender from the trends section before we wrap up. Study shows quantum computers can compare meaning in language models.
Yeah, this is where the lines just get blurry. We usually think of quantum computing as, number crunching and AI as language. This study suggests quantum computers might be able to process semantics meaning.
So if you combine quantum speed with AI language understanding.
That GPT 5.2 exploit engine we talked about earlier, it potentially gets a nuclear upgrade. The ability to crack encryption and understand the code it's cracking simultaneously.
Well, on that comforting note, let's try to summarize the mission here. We're deploying agents to manage the cloud because it's too complex for humans. We're rethinking our entire architecture. Microservices might be out, macroservices might be in, and we're racing to secure our systems against AI that can invent new acts.
The news isn't just about new features anymore. It's a restructuring of who or what is in charge of the technology.
And here's a provocative thought to leave you with. If GPT 5.2 can write zero-day exploits at scale, and we're deploying automated SRE agents to fix things, are we approaching a point where the AI attacks the system and the AI fixes the system, and we humans are just watching the logs scroll by?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? Are we the pilots, or are we just becoming the passengers?
Check the show notes for the full list of videos and articles from Andrew Kagan's newsletter. There's a ton of gold in there we couldn't get to, including a glossary definition for vibe coding that you absolutely have to read.
Highly recommended.
Thanks for listening. Keep learning and stay curious.
Goodbye.